Conversations for Course Creators. My name is Lucas. I'll be your host as usual. And we have a very special guest today, Mr. Robert Anderson. He is an author and he is the host of the upcoming Fearless Lives Virtual Summit. Robert, thank you so much for joining me. How you doing, bud?
I am doing great, and I'm so happy to be here with you. My
Yeah,
goodness. Yeah.
yeah. Well, we've been meeting behind the scenes for so many months, right? Working with
Yes.
Ray and
Boy, that's the truth.
it's been
Oh, it's
like,
been enjoyable. So enjoyable.
yeah,
Yes.
well, we've been working in the shadows. So it's one of those things. So for the people that are either seeing this now live or seeing this later in a recording, Robert and I met through a virtual summit program with a friend of ours, Ray Brem, who's been mentoring us through the process of learning all the intricacies of virtual summits, which Robert is much more well versed on the details of putting the thing together now than I am, because he's launching this Fearless
Oh,
Live Summit next week, right? So we kick off on Monday. Is that
on
correct?
Monday. Yes, Monday. It's exciting. This is kind of the pre-promotion week, and that's going well. And I'm thrilled. I think it's a lot of work, but it is so rewarding. It really is. I started in September, uh, getting together with Ray, and what was I was in a little workshop with him, and it was kind of a beta version. So we had an awful lot of conversation back and forth, and things would change as we went through that class. And now it's a regular class, and if you have a chance to take it, I highly recommend it. And I'll kind of tell you why and why I did this and got involved. Um, I'm a writer. I'm a fiction writer. I'm starting to work on a nonfiction book, however, kind of to be product based on this upcoming summit, Fearless Lives Summit. It started out as as a way to grow an email list so that I could get my ideas and product to people that really were um, interested in what I have to offer, instead of just spending my time trying to get friends on Facebook, many of whom I would never know and don't know. And when it comes to providing services or products, I think they could care, they could become real friends, and some have. But that friendship is more, and a good customer, a good person in your tribe is really developed one on one, person to person, in email lists, which they have the opportunity to drop out of any time. It's they do on Facebook too, but it's such an ephemeral sort of a relationship that it's I don't know, it's not as productive as I thought it could be, and the idea of summits really sparked my imagination. So I got to thinking a lot about, well, what in the world am I going to run a summit on, and who am I going to get a hold of, and how's it going to work? Um, I think one needs to really expand their imagination and decide what it is that's going to be and focus on it, and then realize that maybe you're going to change your mind right in the middle of the whole thing, which is what happened with me. Because,
Wait, did you change your mind on the topic? Was that what happened?
oh yes, the topic, well, the I think the topic stays the same. The title changed. The
Hmm.
title had to do with cancel culture, and I think it turned. In fact, I know it turned some people off.
Hmm.
Also, the people that I wanted to talk to, are charging 8 to 10 to 15 grand just to speak for 20 minutes. So they're number one class A folks, in terms of their own lives and what they have to offer. And the wonderful thing is that trying to get a hold of them, once in a while, I would make some contact. But the people that did come in as speakers are, hey, they should be, if they're not already, charging 8, 10, 12, 15 grand to be speakers, because
Wow.
they are just wonderful folks. They have lives that are incredible. And that kind of is how this thing changed. It changed because of what the interview, or the conversation, if you will, became, and what it just developed into. My,
Wow.
my style is really to ask a question and let the guy ramble on. Apparently that's Lucas's too, because here I am rambling on.
No, this is great. Now, and as a matter of fact, we've had a couple of people jump in and say hi to you, and so we've got
Cool.
Jesus Devante, who's one of my dear friends. He's visiting California
Oh,
for work, and he appreciates us sharing such valuable information with the community because Jesus is just a phenomenal human being. You've got to talk to him. You'll really appreciate him, Robert. And then
I'd
there's this
love
random
to.
guy named Charlie
Oh,
who
I
may or
know.
may not be my dad.
Charlie, Charlie, you did good with your kid. Yeah. Yeah.
He won't believe you.
Oh, well,
I kid, but he's down in Texas on a work trip. So I'm sure he's watching us from the airport. So appreciate you
uh,
guys tuning in. And there are people out there in YouTube, and there's people out there on LinkedIn and Facebook that are tuned in. And Robert, I'm
great.
just glad that they get a chance to meet you because I have a live stream called Life Cycles Live that I do for my engineering community. And part of the biggest part about that is just sharing people with my community that I've appreciated. And that's why I wanted to have you on here because I thought it'd be great for these people to meet you and get to, learn about somebody outside of our sphere. And I love what you're doing. Can you tell me a little bit more about like what motivated you to do this summit on this particular topic?
Well, I was starting to and then stopped myself because I was rambling, but, yes,
No, you're good. You're
it's the it's the stories. I'd start the every interview off, and by the way, I'm not a speaker, and I'm learning how to be an interviewer and not stumble over myself and speak too rapidly and
Yeah.
mispronounce people's names all over the place. But aside from those little, novice problems, I just ask them, "Hey, how did you get to where you are? What's your life been like?" And I almost have to say, our hour's up. We need to stop before I get a word in edgewise because their stories have been so compelling,
Wow.
and they've been willing to open up fairly completely about what's happened and to them. And what really came of so many of them was that courage was something that changed their lives.
Mm.
Faith did too, and sometimes the combination, one before the other. Faith before the courage. But the story was simply that they had all these people have had lives where they had to make a choice of staying where they were in life, accepting what is around them and what they were given, or moving away, stepping up, building themselves to the point that they didn't much care what the world thought of them. They just wanted to get out and give their gifts to the world.
Wow.
And some of them, we're in some really difficult positions. Drug problems, no father at home. Sometimes,
Mm.
to use one of them's expression, 4 or 5 at home at the same time. You can imagine what that means.
Yeah.
Suicide, murders, all kinds of gang problems, and yet these people, and this is not all the folks by any means, but it's those kinds of conversations started me really looking at the fact that what we're talking about here is that discussion one has with oneself to decide that they are going to, I'll use the word that was never used in a summit, grow up and have the courage to step out and recognize that, um, if they just stay there, life's just going to stay the same, get worse, and they're never going to get anywhere. So
Wow.
it's kind of something we all have to face, and it's not something one only faces once in life. It
Right.
kind of that questioning and searching happens always, and so I've been in many fields. I'm not a spring chicken. You may think I am, but I'm not.
So, hey, you look
But
so young. You're good.
oh, thank you. Makeup. Yeah. Uh, anyway, um, but this, just before I started well, I won't say before I started writing. I'll just step back a couple of years from the summit and say that I was ready to become a professional headshot photographer. I'm I've been shooting since I was about 20 years old.
Hmm.
I have a brother who's a pro and is amazing. But I thought, well, I'm retired, but I can't sit around doing nothing. That's just not the way I am. So I
Yeah.
thought I'd get this done. And then I realized that though I have thousands of dollars worth of camera equipment, I was just getting started with spending the money. And I thought, well,
Yeah.
I don't know. And then I was down in the basement. We'd moved, I wouldn't say a week before, but we moved recently. And I went down the basement for something and I started looking at this stack of stuff that needs to be put away. And there were these manuscripts there, piles of paper, stacks and stacks and boxes and all this stuff. And it um, turns out they were manuscripts that I had started writing some 30 years earlier.
Wow.
And I'd set aside and hadn't thought much about. Well, I started reading them, and lo and behold, I thought, well, these are pretty good. I think I'll think about it. And after reading, editing, well, not editing that much, but reading them and taking a look, I decided on one, which happened to be the first one I started writing, and it's called Resurrection Runner. And I went through this whole process of learning how to self-publish and get it on Amazon and Ingram Spark and other places to get it sold and get going. And hey, what a trip that is. I mean,
Yes.
what a deal. There's an awful lot to learn, and um, it's still a work in progress. I'm working on the third installment to that series.
Oh, so it's a series.
Yes, yeah. So,
Oh, okay. I was unaware of that. I thought it was just.
well, you see, promotion has a lot to do with selling, doesn't it? You have to let. I just thought I'd sit here and people would say, "Wow, look at that! I must have it." No, that's not how it works.
Well, it's funny because I had my friend on, Tom Moriarty, who who will most likely see this at some point, and Tom has published a book on leadership, a really fantastic book on leadership. And we did a chapter of his book every month on the Life Cycles live show.
Oh,
And it was hilarious how shamelessly we were plugging that book by the end. I was like, go out and buy the book. And we're throwing all kinds of things up there. And actually, it was a bit of fun on our part to help promote his book, but it was really helpful to a lot of people that just were unaware that there was a book on this topic. And even if they were aware the book existed, they didn't know enough about it to be like, oh man, that's going to solve a problem for me. But by
right.
us meeting every month and talking through each chapter, there were a ton of my network that kind of opened their eyes a bit and were like, oh dude, this is perfect for what we're doing. And they would go buy a couple copies. And so, yeah, hey, plug shamelessly, man. I
No
think
kidding.
it's great.
Well, but if you're up to it, when I get this nonfiction book done, that's going to be good because it's going to be based on Fearless Live Summit.
Perfect.
And I'm going to expand on that because the thoughts just keep coming about this whole subject, and experiences are remembered, and some of those experiences, these folks that were kind enough to be on the summit,
Oh, good.
are just so amazing. They need to be shared. So
Yeah.
we can get back and talk about that.
And if you wouldn't mind sharing your links with the books you already have published with me after the show, I'll drop them in the chat. And I'll also post them on the website. So this way, people that listen later on, they can reference it. I'll put it on YouTube. So for anyone out there watching live now, if you're looking for those links, I will post them. LinkedIn can sometimes be funny with that. I'll put it in the comments section on LinkedIn, but I'll post it into the description on YouTube and on Facebook as well. So very cool. So how did you select the people that all right, so let's back up. For those that aren't familiar with virtual summits, one of the main premises of a virtual summit is you can bring on all these subject matter experts. You're not necessarily you could be, or you may not be a subject matter expert in every single area of this topic that you're going to host your summit on. So you usually reach out to a myriad of other speakers that you know are engaging, have a great perspective on the topic. And that number is somewhere between 12 and 20 usually. So you got quite a list of people you have to put together and coordinate. What did you use as kind of like your criteria for determining who to invite to your show?
Well, the expression "low hanging fruit" comes into play because,
That was me.
yeah,
Hey, you
well,
get over here.
well, yeah. I mean, look, a warm introduction is good. If somebody tells you, "Look, I know this person that'd be great on the summit," then well, let me introduce you. Gee, no, I don't think so. Is not the answer. So
That's
it
right.
isn't. So many of the people came. Well, let's put it this way. It was slow at first,
Hmm.
very slow. Had to learn how to pitch people. Had to, there's a way to do it. And there's certainly many ways not to do it.
Hmm.
And then reach out to them. First of all, I got to find a contact, and some of these people are behind lots of doors that you're not going to get them no matter what you do. So I pitched about 150 people,
Wow.
but I also asked Ray Brem to jump on and be part of it, and a couple other people in the writing business. Ray for summits particularly, but he's got all kinds of book teaching classes. Most of these, so there's two real areas. One is people involved in publishing and writing and promotion.
Hmm.
And so they're very helpful. And but I asked them to think about it in terms of, okay, what stops people from doing what they need to do? What stops them from getting what they expect? And generally speaking, it's, well, first of all, they don't know what to do, and so we're going to help them, and that summit helps that itch. And the second part is you've got to do things on a daily basis. You have to
Hmm.
get up and actually go to work. You know?
Yeah.
So it doesn't just come to you. There is nothing free. I've heard that expression someplace. I'm not sure where, uh, but it is the case that there's work to be done, but it's very productive work. And these speakers were extremely helpful. I mean, Ray Barem. I'm gonna just check my notes so I don't get all messed up here. Well, Honore Corder for sure.
Oh,
Wow, what an amazing person! What
unbelievable.
and how successful! It's just amazing what she's done. Just
Yeah, for
you
those
know,
in our audience that don't know Honore, she's a mentor of mine and just one of the most phenomenal people I've had an opportunity to get to know better this last few years. Just unbelievable person, great motivator. Like you were saying, Robert, just a fantastic story. And it's just amazing the success she's had. But you know, when you meet her and you get to know her, you're like, of course you've had that success because you're the kind
yeah.
of person that should. She's
Well,
that,
absolutely.
she's that good at what she does, but she's also that good a person. So that's like one of those situations to me where it's like, I'm glad you're having the type of career you're having because I want people like you to have that career. Like, you're the right person,
Oh,
you're the
thank
right
you,
person.
thank you. Oh, yeah, we should have met about 50 years ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
There you go.
yeah, I don't think you were here 50. Well, yeah, you probably
I
were.
wasn't. I'm only 43 for the
Oh
record.
my goodness. Oh, I didn't realize I was talking to a young pup here. My God,
Yeah.
you are so successful. I think we'll turn this around. I'll interview you for a while. We'll record that
No, we're
part.
good.
Yeah.
No, we won't do that.
Well, Derek Depker, and Derek Depker is really a life coach and a guy that really specializes in speaking and in getting your point of view straight, and what are you doing with your life. But he also is very good at teaching you how to make your own audiobooks, or at least prepare them for the person doing it, and get
Oh,
so
that's
that you know
fantastic.
what to get, know what to do. Great guy. Been following him for many years. Um, Troy Bassard. Um,
Very big fan.
yeah, I would just describe him as your Dutch uncle. And if you don't want him to tell the truth, you don't want somebody to tell you the truth and right to your face, then that don't bother.
Yeah,
But if you really
Troy's
want
great.
some inspiration and watch a guy who's a workhorse, I mean to say, this
Yes.
man, I think he says he gets up at 3, and I believe it, every day. And he just continues to create content day in and day out. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
I'm jumping on a couple of calls with him this coming week, and
Oh, good.
I just know that anybody who gets my emails start getting 10 or 12 a day. No, that won't happen. But
Yeah, I'm signed up to Troy's
yeah,
email distribution list, and I'll tell you, yeah,
yeah,
for anyone out there that
yeah,
wants daily motivation, great ideas, Troy is just
true.
a fantastically consistent publisher of content. And yeah, if you're the kind of person that doesn't want to hear from somebody, don't go anywhere near Troy. But if you really want a lot of value every day, Troy's one of those people who I welcome the emails every time they come in.
Oh, me
Ray's
too.
another one. Yeah, I mean, just fantastic. And Troy's a submariner. We do have a little bit of a connection there.
Something in common.
Yeah, now I wasn't a submariner, but I've been working with submariners for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, so but Troy's fantastic. So
Well, that's those are the kinds of people that I got fairly easily. And really because of Ray, I said, look, how about these people? And some of them I jumped on other people's summits and listened to those. And I listened to the people I thought I wanted to talk to. I reached out to them directly. And amazing. I saw you on this summit with Ray or with somebody else. And gosh, I'd really like to have you on mine. And you'd be amazed how that is what's needed. You need to have some connection with people, understand what they're doing and who they are, instead of reaching out and saying, I don't know who you are, never watch you, I never listen to you, I have no connection with you, I will never listen to you, but I want you to be on my summit, okay?
well,
That's not how it works.
I was grateful to be invited, especially when I saw your lineup, because I was invited before I saw the lineup, and I'm glad I did my interview beforehand, because afterwards I looked at the lineup
Oh,
and I went, "Wow, this is really great." I said yes because I just love to interact with you and to be a part of something that you're doing, and just that's me. If I connect with good people, then that is obviously kind of
yeah.
priority one in my life. But it was an absolute honor to be invited. So thank you for allowing me to be
Well,
a
I'm
part of
I'm I'm humbled. I mean, I feel the same way about you. What are you doing tonight for dinner? Oh,
it.
my
Going to
wife's
get, I
probably listening.
was about to
So
say, I'm going to get tacos. Meet me in Williamsburg.
yeah. Well, it's a little bit long for tacos. A drive. I'm in Nebraska. Yeah, yeah.
Nebraska. Now, where in Nebraska are you?
Just by the nuclear warheads silos.
Yes, good.
Yes, yeah, Bellevue,
That'll wake you up.
right on the Missouri River, in the
Excellent.
forest. It's beautiful here, wonderful, glorious. It really is.
It's beautiful
Grew
out
up
there.
in Nebraska. My wife was born in Omaha. I was born in D.C. right
Oh,
before JV and say Victory in Japan, Victory in Europe Day. Yes.
ah,
So my
December.
birthday's coming up. If anybody wants to give me a present, I'm willing to accept. But back to the idea about these folks, the relationships are I'm sorry to say they're wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say it because now I have so much to do because these people are wonderful. They are, and the relationships. I mean, I've met so many people and made I think, good friends and some kind of good relationship with them. I feel that we'll do some business in the future, which is kind of part of the whole thing too.
Mm.
Um, but it's amazing. Once you have somebody on, like, well, any of the folks, Lucas, let's take you for instance.
Should I turn my camera off and go away? Say whatever you want to say.
It's not take my wife, please. No, it's when we're done with an interview, then we have a little time afterwards off camera, and one of the questions I ask finally at the end, after being as grateful as I possibly can because they came on and spent their time with me,
Mhm.
was, is there somebody that you think would fit into this particular summit? And Lucas said, well, let me think about it. And I think he thought about 10 minutes, and I got an email that's introduced me to a person and then two people. And So Lucas is really very much a part of getting the next people and having people join it. And that's really what happened. It was a struggle for probably a month, and then Christmas came, and it was kind of, what in the world's going on?
Mhm.
And then right after Christmas, it all started kind of, I don't know, just multiplying and by itself. Well, not really by itself, because great people were recommending that other people be here. And so the list was filled up and became great. Um, the toughest thing I had to do was get a headshot from the final speaker in the summit. Um, he's a friend of mine. He's a good friend. He's somebody I look up to. He happens to be a priest at, at,
You're like,
at
Father, listen.
our parish. Yes, that's right, Father. What? I'll come see you. I can take your picture.
You're at communion, and he's
I
he's
well,
holding the host.
no, I won't go that far.
And you're
I
like,
think,
wait, before we do this, don't forget the headshot.
yeah, this guy is a straight talker, and he spent much time in Manhattan, and he will stand for no guff. When I got there, I asked him, what's your security around here? Everybody's obviously facing. Oh, this is the cathedral, so it's huge. So everybody's
Mm.
facing the altar, of course, and what do you have? He said, well, we can't do it. There's no concealed carry in Nebraska in churches, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I can see why. So he said, don't worry. If somebody jumps on comes up to the altar and wants to cause trouble, I'll take care of it. And the look in his eye was, yes, he would. Probably
Yeah,
punch
you're
him
like,
out and go on. Say, somebody take him away, and let's.
good for you.
He's a very good man, and he's a wonderful guy, and his story is quite amazing. And I get back to this thing. These stories unfold. There is one person, I won't give away who it is yet, because I want you to just listen to the whole thing,
Mm.
who pulled the trigger on the gun that was muzzle was on his temple.
Oh,
And it was a gun he was unfamiliar with. It was loaded, but it had a separate safety that he didn't know about. And he did this in front of his wife.
oh my gosh.
What a trauma. And he obviously was in a very difficult position.
Wow.
Thank God he's alive, because he's a wonderful guy, and he's since really come out of that. Hopefully, every day I pray for him, because these are the kinds of stories we hear, and it's I'm writing an email now to kind of promote it for the daily email and say, hey, get on this thing. And the subject really is, hey, nobody's here to preach to you, even the priest. Oh, nobody is. Nobody's going to tell you that you got to do this, and here's how you do it. The thing is, we're going to tell you, look, you've got something to offer, and there's somebody in the world who wants to see it and consume it and be part of it. And it's not everybody. You don't need a million people. You need a few people that really care and will look forward to what you have offered and what you're going to offer. And you can fail completely, but that just gives you knowledge about what not to do next time, and gives you the time and the energy to get up and get going again and find out what you need to do right. So it's really a very really positive summit. It truly is. And it's all I've got one of the best pollsters in the country, and I'm very outspoken, and certainly good at his craft. Many people think, and myself, he's probably the most accurate and least what can I
Political
say?
polls.
It's a political poll, but he's the least slanted of poll takers in his questioning. He's very, very accurate. So he's a great guy. It's Rich Barris, and you can check him out. Wonderful fellow. Let me get my list again, because I'm going to miss a few people I want to really talk about.
Sure.
There's a guy named Ty Smith. I don't know if you know him. He calls himself the modern Renaissance man. Maybe you remember when a guy got up in front of a school board and started railing on them about critical race theory and why you're teaching my kids this. They're not your kids, they're mine, and on and on. Young black guy, very articulate. His little his speech was recorded and went on YouTube and just went, bonkers
Oh, okay.
everywhere. So look him up. Great. Well, this guy's a natural born talker, and he's really. I got him on. I think I said I was laughing through half of it because it's funny, but even though it's what can I say? It's a tough story, but he's a young guy that's just saying, look, when my brother told me there were demons in the monsters in the basement, I wouldn't go close to the basement until one day I just said, I'm going to go see what they are, what kind of monsters they are. And when they couldn't find them, he said, you just have to go look for yourself. You can't let other
Mm.
people do your work for you. And, you really have to, you can't
Think
just
for you,
rely.
or yeah.
Yes, you've got to rely on yourself for the truth. And so, that kind of started his life at a very young age to
Wow.
change. What started to change? He was in the ghetto too, in the hood, and just you know, brilliant guy, brilliant. And he introduced me to a couple other friends that are on there too, and they have similar stories but different, and they're all positive. In the end, they're all positive, and it's so really the lessons learned here are lessons that are just life lessons and things we might think are passe, but they're not. I have an historian, a friend of mine, Harry Strawbridge, who talks about some people, from years past that were up against all kinds of odds.
Mm.
Kings who wanted them dead. Oh, stuff like that. But they prevailed in many different ways. So it's
Wow.
really very interesting. I'm a firm believer in looking at the past, recognizing when we're born, we are a clean slate and have no idea what's going on.
Mm.
And we may think that as we are taught that everything is being taught by people that have our best interests at heart, in fact, and know what they're talking about. But a little self study is great. Look back to some very great stories and interesting things can be.
Was
If you don't know how to read, maybe you should learn to read. How about that?
yeah. Was there anything that you learned that you were surprised to learn? Like maybe something that hadn't been you hadn't considered or thought of or been exposed to, or like was a takeaway that may have kind of been unexpected? I have no clue if there was, so I'm just asking this off the fly. But
I don't know. Um,
yeah, because
Gosh,
sometimes I find that, I get these lessons in life that even though I've had them before, they just felt different, and then I hear it at a different phase of my life, or I experience something in a different phase of my life that I've already experienced before. And it's different, right? It just lands differently. Or I hear something from someone with a completely different perspective. It might be the same message I've heard before, but it's coming from a whole different plane. And I'm like, wow, that is resonating with me in a different way now than when, I thought about that. I'll give you an example, which is like a human interest story kind of example. When I was in the Coast Guard, we dealt a lot with alien migration missions, and it's mostly a search and rescue mission, is
mm,
what it really is. I mean, to the common person in America, you'd think, oh, it's just immigration work. You're trying to make sure that the people that are getting on boats and leaving certain places south of us aren't getting in illegally. Okay, that is part of it, but for us, it was more of a life-saving mission, because if you're not out there to intercept them, they're going to die out there. Like
mm.
most of them don't get to the United States. So you go out there knowing that you have to go out and save people from something that they may not even understand is really that serious a threat to them, or they're willing to take that risk, but you're going to save them from it. And it was different for me once I got into the mission doing it, right? Up until the point I was actually involved with like taking a baby out of a person's boat and there's no parent. And I'm looking at this baby going, someone put their baby in a boat with strangers and sent it to another nation.
Yeah.
Like, what does it take for you to do that as a parent, right? And it's just like those kinds of moments like open your eyes, or you've experienced something just in a different way. The concept wasn't new, the topic wasn't new, but my experience with it was drastically different than anything I'd experienced before. So I get a different perspective, right? So was there anything that, like, interacting with some of these guest speakers, that you just like were like, wow, that's different, that's something unique for me?
Well, one comes to mind, and it's kind of off the wall, but of course it would be. It comes from Troy Broussard. Uh, Off the wall is the wrong term. I think it's more an
Troy will
aha
surprise you.
an aha moment.
There you
Uh,
go.
I also learned it from a book called 33 Strategies of War.
Yeah.
And this is the strategy about leaving behind everything you have.
Mm.
Because if you don't, you'll never be able to fight the fight that you need to fight in order to win. In other words, you almost, according to this strategy, you have to put yourself in harm's way to the extent that you will fight no matter what. You'll never look back because there is no going back. Cortez, the story is about Cortez
Mm.
and the fact that when he was in the New World, um, he, he was he needed to conquer or deal with the Aztecs, where they had to conquer them or somehow make friends, which didn't seem possible. He had all these boats, and he decided that his people, his crew, who are soldiers, would want to get home if they were up against the Aztecs, because they were take no prisoners kinds of people. In fact, they ate their prisoners as honor and skinned them and wore their skin as their clothes.
Right.
You know, that was something scary to look at and think about. So he sank all his boats, so they couldn't go home.
Crazy.
A little drastic. I'm not suggesting we, do that in our own lives, but so look at the extreme of it. Uh, and there's some other guys, John Curry on here. Who else? John Curry and John Anthony and Joe Mobley. John Anthony and John Curry kind of both grew up in difficult situations in around Chicago, and they just had to. They didn't reject their past. What they did is they came back and said, "Look, there's another way. You've been, you don't know what's going on out there. The truth is this, instead of what you've been told, and you believed it. So, let's talk." And so, really, the joy of this whole thing is that they were able to talk to somebody who maybe didn't think at all like they did, and found
Mm.
common ground. And in that common ground, they got over this sense that we can't be together, we can't work together. And so both sides had an opportunity to see the other side a little bit, and work through the issues. So it was neat.
Wow. What
Yeah.
a novel concept.
Yeah. I'm glad I discovered it through these other people.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
I need you to go to a few select cities on a list for me. Go teach everyone working there these things.
I'll let speakers handle that. Okay.
Yeah. We'll just send Troy, but he's
Yeah.
got to wear the
Oh
sunglasses.
yeah. Oh
You know.
goodness. Yeah.
So tell
Yeah.
me about the structure of the virtual summit. So some of the people that are watching this right now, they're authors. Other people are course creators. Some are engineers. I mean, there are people in my network
Sure.
who may be interested in doing something. Some of them are business owners, entrepreneurs. We get a whole slew of different people kind of tune in on these things, and definitely afterward watch these post live production. But tell me a little bit about like how your virtual summit is structured, how many days does it run? Are you doing any like what does your promotion cycle look like? What's kind of the back end on this thing look like?
Well, the summit will be live on Monday and go through Friday live.
Mhm.
If you get your ticket, then you can watch Monday and Tuesday. On Wednesday, Monday drops off, so you can watch Tuesday and Wednesday
So you got a
on
2-day watch time,
2 day
right?
window, right?
Gotcha. And that
And
runs Monday through Friday,
through
5 days
Friday,
of content,
yes,
multiple speakers per day.
absolutely.
And
3 to 4 a day, so you're not overwhelmed.
right.
But so and promotion is on this week, and
Yep.
through the weekend. Um, so if you want to get on this thing, get on get in as soon as you can. We'd love to have you, and that's completely free. Now
Yeah.
I'm going to spill the beans here a little bit because there is an opportunity to, and I do this because I don't have time to watch 3, 4 videos a day. I just don't have time for it.
Right.
But there, some of these things are so interesting. I do want to have the opportunity to watch them when I have the time. And so there's a thing called a premium pass. It's very inexpensive, but it gives you lifetime access to all the videos, to transcripts. Well, I'll tell you about that too. That's a whole nother matter. But to the transcripts of the audios of them, so you can use them like an audiobook if you're walking around. And I don't know if you'd want to do it when you're driving, because anyway, it's like listening to the radio. I guess you can do that. It's not illegal. I say no, don't do that.
I'd rather they listen to the audio than watch the videos live.
Generally speaking, I feel the same way. Yes.
Now,
Yes.
although I do see people sometimes on the road and I'm like, they've got like a big screen TV on their dashboard. What are they
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're arguing with a person on it too.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
that's I mean that's kind of the basis of it. I think that any subject matter actually lends itself to the summit.
Mm.
There are two things that can come of it. One, you can get an audience that cares about what you're presenting, and they'll stick with you until you
Mm.
burn them, and you don't want to do that. But you don't
Right.
have people that say they're going to do stuff and they never show up again because you know they can drop out anytime they want. I ask for a person's first name and their email so that we can have this conversation throughout the week and then beyond. If they don't want that conversation, they can always just drop out of being on my list. But that list then develops into a warm list, people that do care and do have some interest in what you're up to and what you're going to be doing. Um, Again, we're back to that same subject of just people that signed on because they said click to like this person, and which I do too. I don't expect much out of it, but there it is. So any subject, it can be engineering, for goodness sakes. I mean, you must know that.
Yeah.
It can be how to write a book and how to write a children's book. Should you even be self-publishing, and if so, what are the pitfalls? What kind of successes are there? It's I mean, I people talking about what the spirit world. All,
Yes.
people talking about how to recover from. I think this is one of Honore's subjects, from a divorce. Um,
Yes.
there are all. If you can think of a subject, there are people that are willing to talk about their experiences or to provide provide the conversation that might lead you to them. And that's a big thing about being on this, to being a member of the audience,
Mm.
because you can contact or get on the list of somebody else and see what they have to offer. And so if they, if it kind of sparks something in you and you feel an affinity to them, that's a great opportunity to meet them
I, I
and
mean,
learn
that's
more.
essentially, that's essentially how I met Ray.
Yeah,
I
me
was,
too.
I was
Me too.
with Honore's email list, and I was in 2 of her courses
Hmm.
and working with her kind of periodically through those courses. And she had published a summit and it came to me in an advertisement. And I attended the summit, and I was like, wow, this is really professional. This is great. Who's this guy who put this thing together? And then I went to one for Paul Brody. And
Hmm.
Paul Brody's summit, I noticed, I said, man, this looks and tastes familiar, like the format. There's Ray Brem again. I said, Ray is consistently good at this.
Yeah.
I've got to meet this guy. And so I reached out to Ray and said, hey, I'm interested in learning a little bit more about what you do. And wouldn't you know it, I'm sitting in a room with him a month later in Honore's Empire Builders Mastermind group. And we're sitting across the table from each other. And I'm like, yep, I've been stalking you, dude. You just don't know it. And we had a great conversation, and we continued to have a great conversation after that. And then, of course, the rest of the story, because I've been working with Ray since December on some things. But yeah, I mean, it is amazing how much, if you really want to, you could attend the Fearless Lives Summit, connect with somebody who you see there that you've never met, that has
Right.
this amazing story that resonates with you, that you want to get to know. Everyone on these things is open to, communicating with people and sharing ideas and learning more about what you do as well. And I find some of the best referrals through the summits, because most of the people I know that are hosting these, they're only bringing people to the summits as guest speakers that they know and trust. So
Yes.
there's times when I find, like, I'm looking for someone that does that, and I'll see them on one of the summits from people that I trust, and I'll reach out to that person directly and say, hey, I'm interested in reaching out to one of your guest speakers. Can you tell me how they prefer to communicate? And it's every single time it's turned out to be a positive experience. So, this is a way to kind of expand your network a little bit organically, but it's somewhat indirectly. Now, I've always invested, or I'm going to go out on the record here, I've always invested in the lifetime access to summits, because I've never been able to stop life long enough to watch all the videos when
Yes. Me
they're
too.
public, right?
Me too.
So I used to wait till the last dang minute to buy into the lifetime. Like, I don't know why I was always hesitant. I was like, I'm just going to get the free and I'll be able to get all this done this week. I'll just watch them at night after work. But of course, work ends up being 14 hours and I don't have the bandwidth to do it. And I want to watch them all like in one run on Saturday or something. And it took me one or two summits to realize that I should have just purchased the premium pass within that first 20 minutes of signing up, because I could have gotten a discount on it.
It's
And
15 minutes.
is it
15 minutes. Yeah. If you
Yeah,
wait
I
till
mean,
16, it'll be gone. The discount.
I don't even think about it anymore when I sign up for those things.
I
I
don't
just
either.
go for it because I know I'm going to end up buying it by the end of the week.
Yeah. I I go back to the summits and look at, there's certain videos I go back to because there's some kind of training that I need to have some more information about. In fact, I go back to Ray's from time to time to make sure I'm doing things right. And um, it's now it's
Well,
a process, and we should talk about the process.
yeah,
The summit is that the two of us have worked with is in the cartridge system,
right.
which is one I was unfamiliar with until Ray showed me that. And I got to the point in December of saying, "My goodness, there's a lot to do here. There's an awful lot of detail." And I'm thinking, I know I can do it. That's not the question. The question is, do I have time to do it?
Hmm.
And yeah, I'm retired. Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know what that means, frankly. I really don't. I remember my grandparents were retired, and I thought, my God, they don't move. And they didn't. So I
They're
love them
stuck on the
dearly, but golly,
That's great.
except for my dad's dad, yeah, he got remarried when he was something like 89,
Good for him.
something like that. I remember meeting his wife. And, yeah.
He's like,
So,
we're
yeah.
rolling. We got stuff to do.
That's right. So, anyway, this, where was I? I lost my train of thought, but
You were talking about Kartra.
oh, cartridge. So I made a decision after a little discussion with my wife, who's been so supportive is a word that doesn't describe it.
Oh,
Really,
that's
it's
good.
her notion is this is all that
That's
counts. Get it done. So that's meant everything to me because it's work. It's hard work. A lot of threads that have to be tied together. But I decided that I would talk to Ray and say and join his Done For You Summit program. And all the back end, all the technical stuff, much of all the coordination and that stuff that has to happen to make this thing work automatically once it begins through the 5 and really 7 days of the program. Um, and remind me to talk about the 6th and 7th day, but they handle that, and so I got on board with that program and paid the
So
fee, and we were partners
so
now in
Ray's
this.
doing the Done For You Summit, right?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely, yeah.
All right.
So it worked. It's working out quite well, and um, I would do it again. So we're partners, and we're going to do some work afterwards.
Absolutely.
It's there'll be something coming up after the summit that I really can't divulge at this time, but I'll just tease you and say you'll want to be on it. So
Okay.
yeah,
Well, count
and
me in.
you really can't be unless you've got you come on board one
Oh,
way or the other. You don't have to buy this premium pass to know about that because
got the sign in blood.
well, um,
I've done that before.
I
It
bet you.
wasn't the military.
I'll bet you it wasn't in the military.
It was. I said I
It
was in the
was. That's what
military.
I thought. Yeah, I have too, and I was at military school. So,
When they say raise your right hand and repeat after me, you're like, uh-oh.
uh-huh. Yeah, uh-huh. But you remembered your oath. Anyway, I will
Yes.
not digress. Um,
Well, you're pretty it's a pretty sobering moment when you're standing there and you go, I'm really doing this. Wait,
well,
there's a plane
yeah,
ticket in my hand.
yeah.
I'm going somewhere for a couple months. You're like 19 and you're like, you really don't have a freaking clue. You think you do, but you don't have a clue. And you're just
Oh,
off and
oh.
running.
My father was a lawyer, and when I came back for some Easter break or something, I had an argument with him, and it was an argument over a point of law. I
Did you win?
lost. I lost. Yeah.
He's
I,
like,
I often describe my upbringing facetiously as an eternal deposition.
my kids would probably agree that that's part of their. We have some pretty funny conversations at our house, but I think my 15-year-old would agree with you. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a constant back and forth.
Only answer direct questions and only answer the question asked.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. See,
So,
part of it's my fault because I can't help myself. I'm like, oh, that's what you think, huh? Let's unpack that. And
oh no.
and
Oh
then
no.
and then they're like trying to run out the door because they know that once the hooks are in, there's no escape. But yeah, so you go through Kartra and you
Mhm.
get all this stuff assembled. And so tell
Yes.
me about the role a speaker plays. I mean, besides doing the interview, I know what role it is for me because as a speaker, you and I have been through this, but for the sake of the people that are watching.
Well, the speaker has to agree to a time,
Mhm.
really mainly at their convenience, but I've got to be available so that we get together on a Zoom call or another call. We're not on Zoom right now, we're on a restream, which is another possibility and
Yeah.
looks to me like a very good possibility. I'll be looking into that. And we have maybe some back and forth through email before the interview, and we have a few minutes before the interview to make sure that our equipment's working, like we had today when we actually got it working, and it's because of my genius that it happened.
Yeah. you
20 seconds before we went
you pulled it
live.
off.
And it wasn't me, I'm telling you. I don't
So
know.
so Robert gets in and he's like, all right, I'm in. And we're like on time. And then I start talking and now we're going overtime. And he's looking at me like, dude, aren't we supposed to be on air right now? And I'm like, yeah, we should probably get going.
Anyway, so where were we here? We're talking. Oh yeah, speakers.
Yeah.
And I just tell them, well, here's my first question, and it generally speaking is, well, how'd you get to where you are? What was your life like? It seems to be a good question because people open up boy, they want to talk, and that's so wonderful. It's just
Mm.
great. And once in a while, I interrupt them, and that's not a good idea. But sometimes I laugh so much that the camera shifts to me, and I'm there looking like a fool, and I can never find the off button for the recording, so you'll see me fumbling at the end, including the final video, but I just can't figure out how to shut the thing off. And I mispronounce people's names. Oh, and I talk too fast, and but it's my first time, and hey,
It's okay.
it's me too. So what
I'm
what
over
can I
here
tell you?
not realizing how to turn my mic off when
Yeah.
I'm yelling at my son so I don't interrupt the feed.
Oh, it's okay. If my dog isn't up here, because he could do some damage to the
Well
to the
well,
sound.
part of the funny part about this is I have really bad allergies right now, as you can tell, and I've been turning my mic down to cough, but apparently that wasn't working because I was doing that when I yelled at my son too, and so every one of the I'm coughing in your ear the whole time. I apologize.
Well, it's. I guess we can admit we're human. That's
Yes.
one step.
Well,
So,
anyone watching this that actually knows me knows that that is just kind of
yeah.
part of the course with me.
Well,
So,
my problem is, and I'm always live here, right? It doesn't go
yeah,
back to you when you talk. So I have chronic allergies or something. My nose is running all the time. So I'm always waiting for when the speaker's on and I'm not, so I can deal
duck
with
away.
that. Yeah.
So wait,
Anyway, the speakers are they.
yeah.
So it's generally a very comfortable thing. It's just I was a little uptight the first one I did.
Mm.
What happened with Ray, so he made me very comfortable in a
Oh,
hurry.
that's good.
And it's what's to it? I mean, really, you just sit here and talk to people.
Yeah.
Finding the camera is a problem because generally I like to look at the guy, and you're over here, right? Talking.
Yeah.
You like to see the person's eyes and what's going on. Well,
Yeah.
this is where I am now, but it's not my summit, so I don't care. I mean, I do care, but I don't. What
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm saying here. Anyway,
So so
yeah.
after the event, how does the speaker help you?
Well, let's start before the speaker. The speaker has an opportunity to promote, and they do, and that's good. It's wonderful, and they bring a lot of their audience in, so they're in front of other people's audiences, which is one of the reasons they want to be on because they're being introduced to a new group of people that will now, some of them become so interested in what they had to say they'd like to connect with them, and that's good for them and their business and their product and what they do. Afterwards, the amazing thing is the summit is just kind of the beginning of it all because these relationships then can and already have for me started to develop into working relationships with
Mm.
some of the speakers where we partner up and do other things. So that's happening. But that's the part of the secret I can't tell you. It's too early.
Gotcha.
And some of it will depend on the comments that we get, that I get about how this, throughout the summit to develop the product they're working on just for the people's needs, the listeners' needs. So that's, the business grows. I mean, I wouldn't be writing a nonfiction book if I hadn't started doing this. It's left furthest thing from my mind.
Wow. I
But
didn't
I
know that.
learned through this whole thing that, I've got something to say too, I guess. I talk a lot. I must have something to say.
It must be a thing with us writer types.
Well, I'm known as somebody who doesn't say a word.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, are you an ambivert like I am? I didn't know that was a thing
yes.
until last
I
year.
don't, it's the first time I've heard the word, but I think I know what it means. I'll
Yeah.
tell you a little secret that I tell lots of people, but it's still a
Okay.
secret. When I was in high school, I'd come home from school. I mean, I went away to school, so I came home to school, and I spent 3 summers in the basement. I didn't come out unless it was time for dinner. I didn't go out unless my father made me mow the lawn,
Wow.
and usually I was so late that we had a push mower, and it was it was about 8 inches of gone to seed with grass. And that's hard to do, and especially when it's a
Yeah.
Nebraska summer and humidity up to 92. At any rate, I complain too much. To move on. So, I was a timid soul and had a great model railroad that got eaten up by the mice because
Oh,
I
you have
used
like
flour and water and to make my mountains. And when I was away, the
oh,
mice decided to come in and feast.
wow.
Yeah, but
Bet your dad was excited about that.
my mom particularly. Yeah, yeah. And my brother keeps telling me about it. One of my brothers. Yeah. So I remember, Dick. I remember. So
All those years ago.
so yeah, I'm an introvert. Yes, I think. Obviously, I've gotten out a little bit, but it's not the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah,
So if I can do it, you can.
there you go. When I was growing up, I thought I was an introvert. And then I hit my teenage years and I was definitely an extrovert. And then I joined the military and I didn't say much for the first few years because you're technically not supposed to. It's probably the smartest thing to do is just to
Yes.
keep your mouth shut when you're that junior. But the minute the door opened, I was an extrovert again. And I always wondered if I had changed over the years. But then I grow up and I'm in this grad school course and they're explaining different like personality types and they said, oh, and then there's these creatures called ambiverts and they are both, and you get your batteries recharged by being alone at times and you get your batteries charged by being with everybody at times. And so I said, well, that explains everything. I've been that way since I was a kid.
I think that's true. I mean, I
Yeah.
did come out of myself, not always in the best ways, but after high school, yeah.
But to me, the whole speaker role for those that are interested in being a speaker on a virtual summit, by the way, I highly encourage the answer should default to yes.
Always.
Always, because you're going to gain so much from that experience. You're going to gain so much from forming relationships. You're going to gain so much from being represented alongside these other great professionals. Unless you want to live your life in a bubble and just not be a point of, exposing your brand to the world, then I would highly encourage you to say yes if you're invited to talk on a virtual summit. If
Yes.
you aren't invited to one, I suggest that you start talking to people that are part of virtual summits. And before you know it, you're going to be invited to one, or you could just host your own. And I think one of the cool things that you mentioned earlier is like growing an email list. Ray has said this a million times to me, like, hey, he's a big fan of using virtual summits to get awareness of brands and products off the ground from a business perspective. And I think as a speaker, it's an absolute gift to have someone invite you to a summit to be able to talk a little bit about what you do and what you know.
Yes.
But I feel you on the post recording part. As a speaker, you should be helping that person promote the event and helping that person spread the word, not just because it's something you took part in, but because it's something that they invited you to and that they put a lot of time and work and effort into. And it's going to elevate everybody that's involved the more everyone gets involved. So all the other speakers that are there, the host, everybody should be pulling their weight to try and get the word out about the event. You could do it in different ways. You can do it through your email list. You can do it through shows like this. You can do it through podcasts. You can do it through sharing posts and ads on social media. You're going to, as a speaker, you have an opportunity to not only kind of elevate the summit as something you were a part of, but it's good to let other people see that you're building other people up as well. Like, to me, that's like the mutually beneficial part about all these things. And that's my favorite type of collaboration. That's why I'm such a big fan of virtual summits. It's just like, if everyone gets in there and rolls up their sleeves, everybody can have a good time. So I'll admit a shortfall here. Ray invited me to be on his summit and I was on his summit. And I said, hey, don't expect, a bunch of craziness from my network because we're a bunch of skeptical engineers. And he laughed, but he told me, hey, that's not, appreciate that. But, just having the experience of collaborating and adding value to each other's experience and each other's product is really what this is all about. And I thought that's great, because
Yeah.
engineers can be skeptical buyers. So,
Well,
yeah.
I hope you've turned them around already.
Maybe just now, like right this moment, we've done that. But
That was your job, Kemosabe.
yeah,
Turn them
exactly.
all around.
That's it. Turn them all around or burn the boats. Either way.
Oh, burn the boats. Yeah, there you No, I don't
Yeah.
think you'd want to do that. No.
So if you had to leave your virtual
Uh-oh.
summit experience with like one like key thing that you took away from the whole experience, like what would it be? And I know you're still in the process, but what's the
Well,
big
I'm
takeaway?
I'm amazed it did it. I'm amazed that it how wonderful it is. Wonderful it is. I'm amazed I can't talk. No, I'm just I had this notion that, well, yeah, first of all, it'll be easy to do. Just a few emails and we're rolling. It'll be done in a month. Well, no, it takes a while, but the whole process is quite amazing and wonderful, and it's very fulfilling. So I'm just thrilled that I actually did it, and I'll do more and
Yes.
others on other subjects. The question is, what subject of the day for you, and what do you want to talk about? And once you find that out, then you can craft the whole thing around your subject, and you'll be amazed at what people come to you with and what they can offer and are happy to do it. I was on a summit myself just last week. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
very nice.
One of my speakers I haven't mentioned is Phil Duncan. And he called me up and say, "Hey, would you like to be on the summit?" I said, "Yep." And it took about a second just to say yep, because I type slowly. It's
You go with the yep or the yup, the E or the U.
usually the U.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep is something else. I think that's
Entirely.
part of a dog bark. But anyway, my mind's on dogs because we have a puppy that's
Oh,
a rascal.
a real puppy, like
A
puppy.
real Oh no, he's about 15 months old now, but he's still a puppy.
They're almost crazier at that age because
Oh,
they've
I
got
would say
size on them now. You
they
know,
they
they're
yeah,
still like they're still that puppy they were like a year ago, but
yeah.
now they're like 10 times the size, and they're just rolling.
And they want to play all the time. All the time. All the time.
Yeah,
So,
that's great.
yeah.
So the speakers help you out. You've learned like just how amazing this whole experience is. You're highly recommending it to other people. I'm glad to hear that because I'm doing one in September.
Are you really? It's September.
Yeah, it'll be in September. We were gonna go for an August launch, but when I looked at the timeline and talked to Ray about a couple things, we felt like September might be a better
Mhm.
time to do it. It's going to be mainly, well, as of right now, the topic is um, about course creation and helping
Oh, good.
entrepreneurs that are sharing their experience and expertise with other people. So it's going to be a pretty eclectic group. I've got people from all over, from like all these different industries to talk about the things they do best. And all of these things have been lessons I've learned throughout the last 4.5 years of owning training businesses. So to me, if someone wants to learn how to be a writer and they only focus on the art of writing, or if you want to be a trainer and you only focus on the art of creating curriculum, then the minute you have to step into doing it as a business, everything changes.
Yeah.
And so I try to take the whole business and art approach and put them together. So that's kind of what the summit's going to be
Wow.
about.
Where do
It's
we
gonna be
sign
fun.
up and when?
Yeah. Well, who knows? So
I'm
I
gonna
gotta,
I'm gonna send you a note and get my dibs in right now.
oh, there you
I mean,
go. Yeah.
I want to see it now.
Sticky notes. I'll just start sending you the interviews as we record them.
I like that. That's
You can,
cool.
yeah,
Can I
you can
use
keep,
them myself? No,
sure.
that's no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think an August break for my next one would be great with your product. That's beautiful.
There you
Yeah.
go. That'll be perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah. So do you have any parting words of wisdom for anyone? Like, well, before that, before the
Yes.
parting words of wisdom, where can people find you? Like what's the easiest way to get a hold of Robert? If I want to talk to Robert about all this cool stuff, the books, the summit, the everything, where's the best place for me to go?
I mean, I got to give an email address?
Well, you don't have to.
No,
You
I
can
don't
just
think
say,
so.
call Luke.
No, because I don't know who your friends are. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't give them any information.
Well, first of all, let's give the URL for the summit, because
Okay.
it's rather it's
I'll-
timely. It's it's https:// the usual www.fearlesslivessummit.com. Okay.
Fearless Lives Summit.
Summit.com. And then my writer, what am I doing down there? There we go. I was afraid I was going to touch something on the screen, the keyboard. I mean, I mess it up. My writer's URL is the same, https www.rwanderson with an O, one word, rwanderson dash rwanderson dash author.com.
All right.
So you can see my second. There's some things on there. I haven't kept up with it so much over the past 7 months because of the summit, but there it is. I'll get back to it. So I'm working on my third book. It's going to be out November. My third book in this series be out in November, and
get a copy for my birthday.
Hey, I like that. Oh, here's something. If you get on the summit, I'll send you a free electronic copy of the first book, Resurrection Runner.
Oh,
free.
Super cool. What's the book about?
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, let's just say it's about international conspiracies and spies and murder and transcontinental
crime.
Well, that too, but it's about let's see. Have you ever read or seen the movie? I'm losing my brains here.
Yeah, me too. It's okay.
The Manchurian Candidate.
Yes.
Well, it's kind of that on steroids.
Oh, good.
Let's just say, let's say that the protagonist is a spy who thinks he's the greatest spy in the world. The only problem is none of his memories are his.
Oh.
And they get changed out from time to time, depending on what his handlers want him to do and what skills they want him to have.
Nice.
Yeah. So
that's very cool.
And he does some bad things.
And what's the title of the book?
Resurrection Runner.
Resurrection Runner. When did you first publish it?
2020.
Okay.
September 2020. And then the next one was called the Reluctant Runner. Same character. A little bit aged and wiser, sort of.
That's awesome.
And then the last one, that's the one I work on now, is called the Revenant Runner, which kind of implies death-like experiences.
Nice.
And the whole thing is, I'm taking up a lot of time here, but
you're fine.
It kind of, it transforms in throughout this period, which is probably 20 years or so of his life, into something that is mystical, otherworldly, and shall I say, spiritual. And he's fighting some very dark forces. So
very cool.
There's CGI in the film. It's got to be, because you wouldn't want the bad guy to come in person and star.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So there's a hint.
Good. See, this is also exciting. This is it. This is what this is all about. I love just meeting. Like, I hope you guys are enjoying this. You get to how cool is this? I get to talk to Robert. He's got these awesome books. He's doing this great stuff with the Fearless Live Summit. You're helping so many people out. You're doing good stuff. I appreciate you, man. I really do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you too. And I think what you just said there is really the focus, the thing to leave everybody with. if you're doing something for somebody, you're doing the right thing. And I mean, it's doing something for somebody. So best to give.
Excellent. I love it. I'm not going to touch. I'm not even going to try and add to that. That's perfect.
Well, thank you very much.
You can write a fourth book.
If that, oh, that's part of this one. It's going to come up. It's got to be.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Mr. Robert, I appreciate you, sir.
Thank you.
And your virtual summit is going to be amazing. And if you're watching this or listening to this, you need to go check out the Fearless Lives Summit. I'm going to put links in all the locations. And great. I want you to reach out to Robert via email and shower him with praise and thanks and all the good stuff once you finish the summit. And be on the lookout for the books. I mean, I'm so intrigued now. I want to read them. I feel guilty that I hadn't read any of the books before we met, but you know,
what can you expect? The guy's so young. I mean, he's a young guy.
Par for course.
What do you expect from him?
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate you, Robert, and I'm gonna have to try and drag you back here at some time if you're not world famous by the time we get it.
Oh, world famous, yeah. I'm afraid of that.
Yeah.
So maybe it'll happen. I'm really afraid of that. That's like going to the basement. I don't want.
It's the same thing. All right, everybody. You know where to find us. Tune in the future. Check out what's the name of my freaking show? Check out the Conversations with For Course Creators podcast, and make sure that you're keeping up with Robert and all the great stuff he's doing. And again, Mr. Robert, I appreciate you being with us. Everyone be good human beings to each other. Take care. Be careful.
Thanks, Lucas.
Thanks.